Radio Row, one of my favorite parts, John, about Radio Row is actually talking to, not that Jon Taffer's not a sports guy, but not traditionally a sports guy. Love chefs, love guys like John, of course, who has his great show, Bar Rescue. He's up with Cofield and Company. So what's going on? You're making the rounds right now?
Oh, man, I'm so excited. As a Vegas guy, the Super Bowl is here in Vegas. I'm driving around. I'm looking at all the tents where the experience is going to be. And, years ago when I was on the advisory board at NFL Enterprises, I would go to Super Bowl. Met my wife at Super Bowl 30.
Oh, really?
Wow. So we would go to the Players Association event and the Properties Association event, and we would be deeply involved in it for a number of years. But, to have that excitement come to Vegas is great.
Well, and what I think is fascinating, it's not just like, hey, it's here. The relationship with the NFL in Vegas used to be almost like adversarial. And then now it's all over the place. That shift over the last, 20 years has been incredible.
It did. But think about the football now. I mean, those days were fear of gaming. Yeah. And now look at draft football. Look at the amount of gaming that's involved in football, no matter what state you're in, almost. So I think, that has gone away. And let's face it, we are a highly regulated. If you're going to gamble, this is the place to do it.
Yep. Jon Taffer's with us. All right, let's. I want to get into brown butter bourbon because I know Q Myers from our other station was just talking about it. I have it at home, so let's talk about how it's doing so far and the concept.
Yes, the brown butter bourbon happened by mistake, guys. I was in my restaurant in Alpharetta, Georgia, and my chef was cooking brown butter. And every week in Bar Rescue, I got to come up with something new. So I took the brown butter, poured it in a plastic cooking bag, filled it with whiskey, boiled it for 5 hours, put it in a walk-in refrigerator. When it coagulated it, I scooped it off the top, and brown butter bourbon was born. We put it on a cocktail, sell over 1,000 a month of them. People loved it. So we bottled it. And then when I went to introduce it, I have to pick 2 cities to introduce a product like this. So, of course, I picked Las Vegas, my hometown, and in Boston. And we're kicking butt. We're doing great. In a lot of I don't want to mention names because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings by not mentioning a name, but we're the #1 cocktail in a lot of steakhouses and a lot of restaurants in town here in Vegas, which is really, really exciting for us.
So I'm a young guy. And I'm not super young. I'm like 30. I'm 33.
You're young.
Young guy. So I'm on TikTok a lot. And one of the things I think is fascinating about the alcohol scene on TikTok is it seems that sweet alcoholic drinks are kind of like in vogue now. Like that drink, espresso martinis are like a really big deal. Yeah. Is that just something that I'm just like looking at, or is that actually something where bars are tending to trend more like sweet drinks are the thing?
That's a trend. One of our most popular cocktails is a espresso martini made with brown butter bourbon. So yes, those trends do exist and they're happening in the marketplace. There's a couple of other trends that are interesting. Women are drinking whiskey now that didn't happen before.
My wife loves whiskey.
But sweetness is an interesting. I'll tell you something fascinating. Remember years ago there was, I don't want to say brand names, there was a cola challenge.
Yeah.
And they'd set up the tables and you would taste the cola and you'd pick one brand over another. When you take one sip of something, the sweeter item always tastes better. When you take 4 sips of something, the less sweet item tends to taste better. So when they did taste tests like that, they'd only let you take 1 sip because they knew their product was the sweeter of the 2. So you can manipulate how people react to things in the way you sample it, is my point.
Jon Taffer's with us, Cofield and Company here on ESPN Las Vegas. Do you go back soon to start doing Bar Rescue? Because I know this last season basically went like 2.5 years of taping because of all the COVID stuff. So are you up again soon?
And remember, we shot here that year.
Yep.
So we did, I believe it was 9 bars here in Vegas. Yeah, I actually get on a plane in 4 hours from now, fly to Boca Raton, Florida to shoot an episode. So we're right in the middle of the new season.
All right. What's your favorite state to go to in terms of, not vacation, but, when you're taping? Like, where's been the most interesting set of bars and restaurants?
I would say that there's 3 places that, Los Angeles is not a bar town.
Yeah.
It's not a nightclub town. That's just not the psyche of that town. This is the greatest bar and nightclub town in the world. There's no question about it. And when you leave the Strip and you go into the communities, the bars are fascinating. There's all different types. Some have gaming, some don't, et cetera. So I would say Nevada and New York and Florida are probably the big 3 because they're communities where there's a lot of bars.
You and I talked about this last time that Vegas is very unique. One, a lot of the local bars, and I've been here almost 30 years, a lot of the local bars are getting scooped up by the slot halls, which is very disappointing to me.
Very.
But that's the direction we're going in. So how do local bars survive here? I mean, they've got gaming, but, if the big company comes in, they want to scoop it up. I guess a lot of people are like, hey, I'm going to get out of the business. Yeah. I'm going to get paid millions.
Yeah, I have a friend in a bar rescue story, Spirits on Bourbon, down in New Orleans. It's a very famous bar rescue that we did. And did it 10 years ago, now probably 12 years ago. Guy gets a phone call, says, listen, I'll give you, he paid $700,000 for his building. He says, I'll give you $4.5 million for it. Guy calls me up, says, John, say goodbye to spirits.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a great run. We made millions of dollars. But, you know, these are business decisions that people make. So the way you can do it yourself, if you're going to be in that business, is in Vegas, you know, get some machines yourself so you have the gaming revenue so you can compete with them on even ground. The other issue is try to buy real estate. Don't lease it if you can.
Right.
So there's an asset value that you're building for yourself. You know, in my early days, I rented everything. So I didn't build the asset value that I could have had I bought those pieces of real estate. There are things you can do, but, you know, every industry in the world now is consolidating like that. The last one is dry cleaners.
Yeah.
So Spirits on Bourbon, I'm almost positive, because I go to New Orleans every October. We tried to go over there. I think it's still the new owner. I don't know if he's opened anything yet.
I don't know if he has either.
Because it was a good, really, I'll just tell you, I mean, I'm really into bars.
Yeah.
I'm really into New Orleans. It was a really good football spot because they had the package, and it was one of the only places on Bourbon. And we went over there, and it's like, it's not open. Yeah. So they had shut it down, and they're not open yet. So I wonder what they're going to do with it.
Well, the new buyer bought it for the apartments upstairs and a whole different strategy. So I'm not even sure he's opening it as a bar.
All right, we got to mention this again. You've had some crazy people you've dealt with here.
Yes.
And I don't want to badmouth anyone, but we did have a bar that you redid down at Paradise, right? There's our friends Naked City Pizza are right there, but you redesigned one of the alternative bars, right? Alternative lifestyle bars.
Yeah.
And that fella did not like it, to the point where both Johns, he tore it down.
He did.
He's building it back.
I know. Crazy, huh?
What is going on?
Some people in life, you know, their egos are bigger than their wallets, if you will. And unfortunately, the ego keeps the wallet small. That was a beautiful bar that we built, and people saw it on TV. It was a really beautiful bar. And he wouldn't open it because he didn't build it. I did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Seriously. And
that,
they took down the building.
Because there was no reason for him not to open it and operate it and give it a chance and see how the market. I mean, you're given a remodeled bar. I mean, given a whole new brand. Everything was beautiful. I'm sure you saw the episode. It was beautiful.
Yep.
Why not open it and give it a chance to succeed? Well, he did.
It was a parking lot for a year and a half, and then he's like, I want it back again.
So what I learned in Bar Rescue is that's a decision that doesn't have any logic in it. That's strictly an emotional ego kind of a decision.
Get John's brown butter bourbon. Let's close on this one. Around town it's been interesting. I mentioned slot halls are coming in. They're buying things up. The Arts District, actually, I think a lot of people have done good jobs opening spots down there. Have you been down there? You look around a little bit?
Yeah, I love to see what's happening. A little more, and we can really have a nice little destination down there.
And I think it's good for locals.
Absolutely.
And now we have an alternative spot for some of the tourists to go over there.
Absolutely, I agree. And it's becoming our Greenwich Village in a sense.
So when you're talking about opening a bar, what I always find fascinating is the different themes, right? Like sports bars or taverns or cocktail lounges. Does it matter? Is there more a popular trend here, like expansion of sports betting? Would you lean more towards sports bars? If you were telling somebody you wanted to open one, what direction would you take it in?
I'll tell you what's interesting about a sports bar. People don't know this. The average sports bar can fill it through sports no more than 80 days a year.
Yep.
That's it. Yep. So sports bars do not fill you 365 days a year. You don't get them every game for baseball season. You don't get them every game for NBA. Here we got the nights, a little different. I got a shot at every game here in Vegas. But the fact of the matter is, generally speaking, if you can get 70, 80 days a year out of sports, you did pretty darn good. Even in cities like St. Louis, that's a nutty sports town, or Detroit, et cetera. So if you open a sports bar, I tell people all the time, you got to open a great bar with sports.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And good TV placement. I can't tell you how many times I go in, I'm like, the TV placement's a nightmare.
And audio, and all those things are critical. I don't want you, we call it a viewing window. I don't want your neck to have a kink, halfway into the first quarter.
The other day I went to one, I was really excited to go. And again, we won't name names, but we went to it and there was only one TV, and luckily it was me, my buddies, and their wives. So the wives sat on this end and we sat on this end because there was only one TV to watch. And they kind of wanted to go to watch the game, but they sacrificed that so we could watch it. Yeah. But those are the kind of things where you kind of got to think when you're looking around about TV placement, things like that.
Yeah, years ago we used to do things where we would give people control of their own television, and we'd give them that cube. Remember that cube? And it had a switch. You could pick one of 9 games to listen to. So you could choose the game you wanted to listen to. Those are great days. The early days of NFL Sunday Ticket, when we rolled all that out and such, was a really fascinating time. People might not remember, but when we launched NFL Sunday Ticket, which you guys know I was involved in, that was only a commercial license. You couldn't get it at home for the first 2 or 3 years. So if I wanted to see the Dallas game in Vegas, I had to go to a bar. I couldn't buy it from DirecTV back then. So it was a really powerful advantage. It helped launch the sports bar industry. And I believe if that wasn't the case, where a Sunday Ticket started with a commercial license, I don't believe sports bars would have become the household brand, if you will, so to speak, that they've become. Sunday Ticket really launched that phenomenon.
One last thing. Jon Taffer's with us, Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. Always nice enough to do the spot with the local station. You know, this last set of episodes that came out, you're very kind. You're very gentle. You didn't yell as much.
Yeah, you know,
it was very therapeutic, like a lot of relationship repair.
Yeah, you're not going to see that this year.
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Guys, I hate excuses.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll relate it to football. If there's a football game and there's snow all over the field and the guy slips and falls because of the snow, how do you scream at him for that? But if there's no snow and the field is perfect and he lost his balance and fell, then you scream at him. So, COVID really wounded some of these people. Yeah. And last year, remember, I shot the year before. So I was a little more understanding. They were a little more wounded.
Yeah.
Licking their wounds, if you will. A lot of them are in financial. This season's a whole different game because that stuff's over. So it's time. Stop with the freaking excuses.
Yeah.
It's great.
Right? It's time to go to work, man.
When I watched, I was like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah.
Like, I got it. I was like, John needs to start getting in there and start hammering people.
Oh, some of them.
It's interesting. I react to them.
Yeah.
And that season was a difficult season because of, what they had been through. It's hard not to feel for them. This year, again, no freaking excuses, man. That stuff's over. If you're not making money now, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Or you're lazy. One of the two. And either way, I'm going to come at you.
I'll tell you what, one of the best moments, and I think TikTok's done a great job of shows like yours because clips start to resurface and people get interested again, and people maybe don't know. There was an episode where I think it was a bar that had an air fryer outside, like by the dumpster, and they're bringing the food out, they're frying it, and you're screaming at them. They don't understand what the problem is.
The things that I have seen, guys, are just unimaginable. As a professional guy, it's remarkable to me. We were in a kitchen once in Fort Lauderdale, and my chef and I are standing there, and the rats are running into our shoes. And we look down and we see them running into our shoes and going the other way. So it's a remarkable thing to see. And unlike football, you field a lousy team, you lose it.
Everyone in Vegas, get out there and get the brown butter bourbon by and next season's coming up soon of Bar Rescue. Thank you so much, John.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.